I want to jump over to Missouri for just a second. And this is not something that's had a lot of national attention, but it's really, really interesting to me. And we've just had a profound result. This is a ballot measure in in Missouri. It's Amendment 4. The background here is that Missouri keeps having these citizen initiatives. And citizen-initiated amendments in Missouri in recent years have enshrined the right to have an abortion in Missouri. They have expanded access to health insurance in Missouri. They have legalized marijuana in Missouri. They have legalized sports betting in Missouri. There's been all of these citizen-led efforts in Missouri that have produced these liberal to populist results that have made Missouri Republicans very uncomfortable. Their voters have voted for these things and they don't like it. And so Missouri Republicans in recent years have done all sorts of incredible gymnastics to make sure that the will of the voters is not actually made manifest in Missouri law, despite the results that voters have really resoundingly handed them at the polls. So to that end, Missouri's Republican legislature organized this Amendment 4, which would make it harder for citizen initiatives to get on the ballot in Missouri. Instead of just needing to get a certain number of signatures statewide in order to get your initiative on the ballot, instead this would change it so that you had to get a certain number of signatures in each of the state's 8 congressional districts. This is a threshold that would not have been met by any of those initiatives I just described that Missouri Republicans didn't like the results for. So this was an effort to make it much, much harder for citizens to get what they want in Missouri. And Missouri voters gave them a one-finger salute on this one. Look at that result. Incredible. I mean, this is just under a third of the vote in, but look at that. This is projected to fail with an exclamation point or 10. Missouri Republicans, your voters are telling you something. And one of the things they are telling you is that they want you to stop telling them to shut up. The great tell in this Amendment 4, part of the reason I found this story just amazing, and I've been watching this closely, is because the way they changed the law, or they would have changed the law had this Amendment 4 passed, would have said that you needed this new threshold in all 8 congressional districts to get an initiative on the ballot if you're a regular person, if you're a regular citizen who wanted it on the ballot. But if the legislature wanted to put something on the ballot, they'd still use the old easy standard. They were making literally 2 different standards, one for themselves and one for the rest of the people in the state. And that is just, I mean, we think of Missouri as a red state and they elect a lot of Republicans, but the people of Missouri just told them absolutely no on this tonight.
I have been, first of all, Rachel, love, okay? I have been following this. Eugene and I, we're talking about it on our podcast tomorrow. Actually, we're going to record it. It'll be out on Thursday. But it's so crazy because in the last election, the Missouri voters, they were the first state, I believe, in the last presidential election to overturn a near total abortion ban in the state. Even though they sent a Republican governor, a Republican Secretary of State, a Republican Attorney General back to work in the state. The Republican Attorney General, by the way, which has since left and now is at the Justice Department as the FBI's number 2. Stay tuned, folks. The voters are paying attention. And so that's why I'm like, when people sit around, people come on all our shows and they're like, oh, I wish the voters would, when are the voters going to get it together? The voters have it together. Yeah. They're actually paying attention to this. And I do think abortion is still one of those animating issues, even though it's not on the front pages of the newspapers. It's not necessarily something we're talking about on television. It is a kitchen table issue for folks. The ability to make the decisions about the health care that they need in their lives is right up there with how high the groceries are and what's happening with the larger healthcare apparatus. And so I'm wondering what kind of nefarious things that this Missouri state legislature is going to try now that the voters have rejected this.
But that's why Missouri or these primaries or these midterms are really going to have all of us look at the definition of power. Because we often associate power with money. Republicans have a war chest of campaign dollars right now. And by the way, it's only getting bigger tomorrow because wealthy Americans have become extraordinarily wealthier in the last 2 years, as has corporate America, because of deregulation, because of tax policy. Look no further than the markets, which are soaring. And we normally say, well, that's what power is. But now look at the reverse. Look what the voters in Missouri are saying. Look at the thousands of people people who don't have political affiliations, that showed up at No Kings rallies, who are watching what's happening with the corruption and the grift, and they're saying, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
So while some are saying, well, Democrats, they just don't have the money, the enthusiasm that the American voters are having, many who aren't Democrats, who are just saying, this system doesn't work for me, they're showing up and they're voting in droves. And that's where we're watching this shift of what does power mean in this country. Donald Trump would like to tell you that power just means infinite wealth. The American voter might be telling you something very different.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I think, both to have Ali confirm for us the big turnout numbers in Michigan is a very constructive sign for Michigan. It doesn't tell you who's going to win, but it tells you that people are using the democratic system that they have in order to try to effectuate the outcomes they want for their lives. And in Missouri, this is the people jealously guarding their own power, jealously guarding their own role as citizens to determine what's in their state constitution and what policies they have to live under. I mean, it's abortion rights. It's also access to health insurance. Every time people can get access to health insurance on the ballot, people in the reddest states in the country vote for it, while Republicans in power do everything they can to deny people access to health insurance. And that the ability of people to have their voice in that is something, to your point, Simone, that people understand.
Yeah, it's the last thing they have, to be honest, to be very clear. I mean, this is an administration that is trying to crush the will of the people. Everything that we've seen this administration do since Donald Trump came back to power, they are trying to demonstrate that the Trump administration is that we get to tell you what you're able to do. That's why the criminalization of this ordinary activity, whether it's the reflecting pool or the sandwich man or, public servants like Tish James or James Comey. The government wants the people to believe that there's nothing they can do, that it's inevitable, so just throw up your hands and let us do our thing. But the people are pushing back, and that matters. And so, look, I don't know what's going to happen in Michigan tonight. Well, I have an idea. But at the end of the day, the general election is also going to be a story. But at the end of the day, we're not yet in an authoritarian situation. We're definitely in a slide. Okay, I'm definitely concerned. I'm looking over the corners. But the people still have the power in America. And what I'm seeing across the country and hearing from folks is that they're willing to use that power by any means necessary.
The people understand the assignment.
That 80% vote in Missouri, that's a Republican vote. Okay, and that's Republican voters saying to Republican office holders in Missouri, we're willing to vote for you because of the lower tax thing, but we think a lot of your stuff is very extreme, including the abortion position. It's very extreme. So what those voters have been doing is editing Republican governance in their state, which allows the Republicans to retain those positions. If you shut them out and you do not allow those voters to edit your extremism, they might then have to just turn on you. So Republicans in the state, the professional Republicans who fought against this, maybe the best possible thing for their futures was